did you learn one thing that paid for your ticket? And I said, oh my gosh. And I started rattling off and she just stopped me there. And she said, if you got one or two ideas that pay for the trip, it's more important that you are focused on what you're bringing back and what insights you need in order to advance the business, in order to advance our growth as a company together, than about being together for the event. Because it's not a social experiment. It's a professional event.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. On today's episode, we are thrilled to have Anne Gardner with us. She is an organizational leadership expert. I know that's a big title, but she has over 25 years of experience in association management, so including 14 years as a chief executive. Anne has a proven track record of fostering innovation, collaboration, don't forget this word, guys, because we're going to talk a lot about collaboration today, and growth for both nonprofit and for-profit sectors. Anne currently serves as the executive director at the Vacation Rental Management Association, VRMA, where she leads the largest global community for short-term vacation rental professionals. Her leadership and her passion for helping organizations thrive has been instrumental in advocating for the growth and professionalism and sustainability in our industry. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you, Lynell. It is a pleasure to be here.
I think that was such a mouthful. But look, the coolest thing I found out about you today is that you served as a director for Cape Fear
Realtors?
Realtors.
Yep.
Cape Fear Realtors.
Yeah, I was their chief executive officer for 5 years prior to joining VRMA.
And that's like 15 minutes from like Holden Beach, where I'm from and where I have some vacation rentals. So I thought that was really cool. I think it's amazing. You and I met last week at the Women's Summit that Amy Hynek puts on, and we just had a phenomenal time there. I tell you, if you have not been, you guys, it's really a fun thing, and you learn so much. What did you think, Anne?
You know, I found it to be positively electric. The sense of camaraderie and support, and you could just see the growth and the relationships just developing in real time. You know, from Tuesday afternoon to Thursday evening, it was like light years in that sense. And there was just so much growth and content that was there. And just that sense of, you could see folks meeting for the first time, but you knew that they had really deep kinship relationships and a lot of mentoring, a lot of matching, a lot of folks following up and realizing that it really was a community where they saw themselves either in their current role or in a future role. And it was just positively electric, as I said.
You know, you found a lot of people that did the exact same thing you did. And it was really great to be able to ask questions and just have that community that we did. And we managed to leave and get out of the rain by the skin of our teeth there. They have had really bad flooding there. There was flooding when I drove out. Did you fly or did you drive?
I flew out actually Thursday evening.
Oh, so you got out before Friday when the flooding started.
I got out with about an hour to spare. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite an adventure. Let me ask you this. If I was to say, Anne, what do you do at VRMA? What would you say?
Sure. So as you said, I'm an executive director. And so what that means is that I lead the administrative and, executive operations in partnership with the board of directors of VRMA. And so that means that we execute here on our team, we execute the major events, as well as fostering community, membership, growth, being able to produce arrival, as well as the VRHP, and just in general, making sure that where the board has a strategic direction, we're able to execute and really drive value for the members, and then communicate that back to our decision makers and really put an ecosystem in place and to be a real partner with our volunteer leadership and making sure that we're advancing VRMA today.
So for those of you who don't know, that VRHP is Vacation Rental Housekeeping Professionals. So they're also a part of VRMA. Now, tell me, what are the best strategies for making the most of a conference for property managers?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. We just are back from a meeting that we both attended, and I know a lot of us are in meeting season, if you will. We
It's
even have
true.
our global partners, if you will, having some of their meetings, their fall meetings, and so it can be a lot, right? Getting ready for the meeting, getting there, and then especially as a property manager, if you're in the summer months and you're starting to sort of wind down and prepare and look at the next year and take stock and you have a fall conference to attend, or maybe even a winter conference, and you say, this really has to be a lot of bang for the buck. And so, with that in mind, making sure that you have an assessment before you head out of what are the areas where you have either questions or some weak spots, making sure that you know what is your goal, 2 or 3 goals that you want to get out of that learning environment and making sure that you read through and take that time in advance to look at that conference program. These programs often take months to put together, as you're well aware, and the sessions and the content leaders. And in my advice, I would say take a look at that, look at who the content leaders are going to be. We're a very sharing and collaborative industry. And if you have questions or something specific that you really want to make sure you cover and you like their topic, I even say, why not reach out and let them know that you'll be attending or let them be in the audience. Choose your sessions, map your day. One of the tools that we're going to be releasing at VRMA is based on your journey, your professional journey. Are you in the beginning of your journey? Are you mid-career? Are you managing at a certain level within the industry? Is your role in property services, or is it in being a property manager yourself directly? We're going to actually map out for you a conference plan this year. And we're going to put together some sample schedules and some suggested learning paths because we have heard that feedback that we wanted to make sure we were addressing all of the different various areas and that we weren't really just releasing a giant schedule, the largest meeting in the industry, and not really giving that sort of guidance so that you get the value. The second thing I would say is it is the largest of the events where we have put together intentional training for every stage of business. This is an opportunity to bring your team. You will get all the learning in one opportunity. We've been very mindful of that. And so for me, I look for events where I can have that economy of scale. And as I'm learning, can I learn different roles? And if I'm here on behalf of someone else, is there content I can take back for them? And have a learning plan with your team about what you want to cover together and what you want to get out of the meeting. And then when you're actually in the event, I would say if it's a subject that is super important to you and you just are really waiting for this, we all mingle about, we get mic'd up, et cetera, and all of that before our sessions start. I'd say go on up to the front, introduce yourself and, let these folks know that, you're really interested in the topic. You have a few questions. You wonder if they'll cover a certain area. And I will tell you from having been a speaker, I know you've been a speaker many times, we're thrilled to get the questions and feedback. And sometimes to really understand what someone's looking to gain out of their learning environment is what we need to know as well. So I would say that first and foremost, have your fun, have your networking. We'll be putting new networking pods together. One of the biggest areas that we know is a challenge in meetings is how do you find your place in an event, especially one that's fast paced or maybe a large scale. Look for those areas where you have organic opportunities to find people who might be attending 2 or 3 of the same sessions or, introduce yourself to someone new. We have networking events every single day. And I would say the other part about growing your business, Lynell, and this is something that one of our board members had shared with us earlier, is that many of our suppliers, I think for this show in particular, they're sending you opportunities to register or to meet in advance or just to acknowledge that you're going to be at the event. She shared with us that's the key to a lot of the networking events and parties and opportunities to have some previews of new and exciting tools and new releases is that that is often based off of your response on if you're going to be at the event. So I thought that was a little bit of an insider tip of how do you know that you're, if you will, on the list for some of the fun and some of the nightlife. And so is to make sure that you're letting folks know you plan on attending. So don't be a mystery in that regard. And so I think once you balance that out, that for me is always a really worthwhile conference experience. And I will just share one thing that I learned along the way from my mentor. And it was the first time I was at a event or trade show that was about 17,000 attendees. And you can feel like you're really lost in a sea there of trying to get the most out of your experience.
For sure, with that amount of attendees.
Right. And I saw her, I think, just in passing, and I was a brand new employee. And we come back to the office, and I was all apologetic that I hadn't been with her the entire time or that she hadn't seen me at the event. And she said to me one thing. She said, "Did you learn one thing that paid for your ticket?" And I said, "Oh my gosh." And I started rattling off, and she just stopped me there. And she said, "If you got one or two ideas that pay for the trip, it's more important that you are focused on what you're bringing back and what insights you need in order to advance the business, in order to advance our growth as a company together, than about being together for the event. Because it's not a social experiment, it's a professional event. And you're really looking to drive value out of that." And I've always tried to keep that in mind as an attendee myself and as someone who produces events for an industry.
Me too. I'm laser focused on what I want to get out of it. I always know before I go exactly what I want. And I'm laser focused on getting that. And then as soon as I get that, I'm like, it's done. That's all I needed, even though everything else is bonus for sure. Let me ask you this. How is VRMA putting the property managers into the driver's seat for education and what they need? And I think where I'm going with that question is, how can property managers who sit back and say, well, I think this is the dumbest thing, or I think this is the most brilliant thing, how can they bring their 2 cents to VRMA and the education they receive?
Oh, I think that's tremendous. Well, I will just share for one that the event we have coming up in October, we have over 50 of our fellow members and volunteers that are part of the planning for that. And so we have really opened up the voice of the member since last year. Yeah, with the leadership of our board of directors, we started, I would say, a real grand listening tour, if you will, and we've pivoted that into action. And so for anyone that was part of our first foray into that space of really members driving the programming and driving the learning and really having a much more refined focus on that, I met our members halfway with this. So we increased our members, we increased our volunteers. And I'll tell you, Lynell, how I did that. In the listening tour I did when I joined last year, and I really just want, and I still do, want anybody who has an experience with VRMA, good, bad, indifferent, just something they'd like to share, to reach out to me and talk with me. And I've even had some folks bring others along and say, this person probably wouldn't reach out to you, but I've told them you're here to listen. So can I broker a call for you? And I'm fine with that either way. And so many times the feedback I heard gave us the idea, gave us that insight and said, we need to go this direction. And then the very first thing that I would do, because usually when someone offers you that type of critique and input, is they say, we really want VRMA to succeed. We really want to see VRMA do well, and we really want to be part of a great future for VRMA. First thing I would do when we knew we were going to act on something is I'd reach out to that member and I would ask them to help with the initiative, if not lead it. And so we had programming committees, et cetera, for new relaunches. We pivoted away from the Spring Forum event into a foundations training, which hopefully will be a series that we'll be offering about how foundational VRMA can be and has been to the start of our professional property managers' careers. And so we look forward to running that event actually at the beginning of 26 again. So that's all volunteer led. And so that is the lifeblood of any healthy, thriving organization, is it has to have the voice and the culture, as well as the sense of community of the members.
So We talked a little bit about collaboration. Let's go there. Where are there opportunities for VRMA to collaborate and help amplify the vacation rental industry?
Oh, most definitely. Well, one of the areas that I think of right away is, of course, in advocacy. And, that is a subject that you know well, and that our friends at Inhabit have been very engaged in over the years. And as a business owner yourself, I know that's been important. And there are not too many hands that can help with this lift in advocacy. And so coming in and understanding the multifaceted layers and partnerships and our alliances that have formed in both regional and state levels, and how those have come about mostly through urgency and need, but really being able to pivot and be able to be more proactive and provide more fully faceted services. And so VRMA is in the process of sort of working towards that, getting a lot of input from our state alliance leaders. We have, several who are part of some key committees and stakeholders and groups, and making sure that we're developing areas where we can be additive to address these issues and to prepare these organizations and alliances to be more proactive in their communities and the work that they're doing, and also to be working towards model policies. And, as we see green shoots of progress in areas where regulation or, laws have gone into effect, of course, that are able to preserve everyone's right to do business and our owners to have enjoyment and income from their property unrestricted and to comply with state and municipal and Commonwealth laws. To me, that's just such an area where it's such an obvious partnership opportunity. It's not a competitive landscape, it's a partnership.
3 days, game-changing insights, unlimited possibilities. Streamline Summit 2025 SOAR is where the future of vacation rental management takes flight. Secure your spot, sharpen your strategy, and connect with the best in the business. Visit streamlinesummit.com and register today. The industry is soaring. Will you rise with it? What are some other partnerships that VRMA has? I know that we talked a little bit about, I think, right to rent, rent responsibly, hospitality heroes. You said something about building toolkits and something about a Red Cross site. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year, right before our October event in Phoenix, we had two back-to-back hurricanes that were, positively devastating to the southeast, and there were some folks that were obviously impacted. Our members' businesses were impacted overnight. It impacted attendance at that show and that event, and so the board of directors got involved right away and established a dedicated Red Cross relief and funding site that is specific to VRMA. And the board of directors started that site last year with an initial $25,000 founding donation. And so part of our follow-up work and learning about the Hospitality Heroes Initiative, when that was getting underway earlier this summer, we knew that we wanted to make sure that we have a role in preparing our property managers and our property services professionals for emergencies, not just the after effects, but also that risk profile and making sure that it's a more fully faceted piece of what we all do in running our businesses. And so we're working with some of our supplier members. Our education committee is underway right now. And so we'll have a toolkit released fairly soon for
I
emergency preparedness.
I love the fact that you collaborate with all of these different initiatives that property managers and supplier members have come up with. And I love the fact that you guys have just stepped on board and said, hey, we're going to support this 100%. We're behind you. And I think that's fabulous. Let me ask you this. Why is VRMA so expensive to come to these events?
Sure. I certainly understand, and as we have the VRMA's 40th anniversary this year,
Wow.
we're fledgling, right? We're a growing group in a really dynamic and changing industry. And so our annual event, our largest event, it has grown, and we are really, I think, enjoying that opportunity of attracting good quality, new technology ideas, looking at how that's going to elevate and change our landscape. And what that means is that VRMA has grown. And so when an event is outside of being located in a single property or whatnot, when you're in that sort of trade show convention center environment and you're really elevating in this, the show has grown in that experience, and being able to have 8 simultaneous ballroom level sessions plus a general session for, the entire attendee group. And it is the largest once a year marketplace for our industry and our profession. And so to present that and to present that well, we understand that is an investment. And so that's why we're making sure that we want to really do what you were talking about earlier, which is how do you make the most out of that? How do you make that a year-round learning? We're adding conference recordings, we're adding that. And so that's a piece that we'll be able to extend after the year. And so being able to also take some of that learning and bring it to other levels. We know that that is a cost barrier for some. And so the board is very, very mindful, as well as our planning groups, about being able to plan year-round learning and remote learning that is tied to the entire property journey and not all left for the October event. But those are some of the factors that play into it. And so we're making sure that we know events of this scale are not getting necessarily any cheaper. And so as costs rise, as the cost of doing business rises, shipping, the lodging, all that's attached to that, we're making sure that we're really trying to drive a lot more value and a lot more echo for you to be able to take things away from it for the whole team later.
I love the fact that the VRMA today, and we're, in the fall of 2025, is completely different than a year ago. That's a lot of change, Anne. That's huge. Like, tell me the difference between last year and this year and why people should recognize, we want them to know why is it different and how is it different?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been a joy to really take a look at this, and the part where I think we met our volunteers equally is the amount of research, the amount of background research, the amount of analysis that we undertook in order to serve this up for our planning groups so that they understood that we're planning now not for one general attendee. We are planning events in all of our products now for about 4 different styles of how you do your business, what your core market is, what your core chief concerns and pain points are. And so we have intensive learning workshops that are 90 minutes. We have quick hit for if you're just looking for an item or a piece of information. We have entire workshops that are happening a day before the full event takes place and gets underway. And then we're also incorporating an awful lot of member feedback and learning about what those topics are. And we're really focusing VRMA now on addressing those business challenges you have and how can we move you to that next stage. And so for us, it's all about what are you going to do when you've been able to take this learning and put it to work Monday morning when you get back? And is it actionable today? It's not theoretical. It's how is it going to help you in your business today? And those are really the things that we have present because we understand the level of investment of time and just frankly what's expected of a VRMA event, and that we are that standard bearer. And so there are areas where we can really lean in this year.
So you said something earlier today that really caught my attention. We were talking about the fact that a lot of property managers say, VRMA was pivotal. It was crucial in starting my career or advancing my business for a lot of the suppliers, moving from 10 to 50 units, or to 1,000 units, the systems and processes that are taught at VRMA, but you said something after that, because that I was aware of. Then you were like, and helping property managers move in the M&A space. How can VRMA help there?
Well, there's one session in particular that, and knowing that, this may air after we've all been together in Las Vegas, but there's one session in particular where we know that there is a tremendous amount of movement now around those members who maybe are looking to make a transition. Are they looking to sell a book of business, or are there economies of scale that they're wanting to take advantage of, ways they want to grow their business? And they say, how can we leverage what we have now without giving up our ownership, or without, necessarily exiting the business? And so we know a lot of those conversations are happening, and we're not saying that we're here to facilitate them, but we certainly are here with an opportunity for the industry to convene and have that discussion, and to help educate our property management community on what all those messages and what all those opportunities mean. And, we know there's a lot of movement in that space right now. There's a lot of interest from the, private equity and venture capital community. And I will say that we saw a lot of that coming. It's other industries that I've worked in prior to working with VRMA, when you see that you're sort of catching that attention. And for those who might have been at the Focusrite event last year that took place right after the VRMA event in Phoenix, it was one of those areas where you just heard a lot coming forward, and you just said, we need to have a really educated membership on what their options are, to make sure that as different opportunities come to them, it's really best for the business that they want to run, or the legacy that they want to leave.
Well, there's a lot of that going on, and I'm involved in some of it too. I think it's the most exciting thing I've seen in the industry since the beginning of my career. I'll be real honest. I think that what Shareholders is doing is just so unique and different. And I'm really excited for the industry as we move forward with this. Let me ask you this. As you continue to lead and innovate in the short-term vacation rental market, what is the one thing that you're looking forward to most at VRMA this year?
Oh my goodness. For me, I can just tell you, it is that sense of connection. And for me, it's the challenge that you all will have to reach out to me and book a call with me to let me know if we did it or not. But for me, it's the challenge of, how do you take an event that is for several thousand people, and how do you make it feel accessible? How do you make it feel as if you can come in as a first-time attendee, a solo traveler, if you will, and get everything out of it, and not feel as if it was drinking from a fire hose, or just, overwhelming in that way? Because everyone that I have met since joining VRMA has instilled the sense of community, camaraderie, as you spoke about it. It is the hallmark of all of this first year of interviews that I've done with members and conversations, is folks have said VRMA is positively foundational in my start in the business. And those first 3 to 5 years, we were such a community that learned and grew together, and really rooted and cheered one another on, and followed up with one another, and made sure that we had someone in our corner, if you will, on our side. And we don't want to lose that. And as you say, and we all acknowledge, the role of technology, the role of AI, it is such an exciting time, because it's not a disruptive time. It is actually a time where I believe it's a time of acceleration, and it's a time of opportunity. And so you want to experience that in community, not as a solo practitioner or a solo operator, And when we've introduced members, there's a member who's so involved now, who I actually met at Focusrite last year, which itself is a very large event. And, they were explaining their experience with VRMA, and how they just sort of didn't feel as if they landed on the event that they attended. And it really stuck with me. And also, I had a commitment that when we left that event, I wanted to introduce her to people that, although I know so little about our industry still, what I say fits in a teacup, what I don't fills the ocean, right? But I knew that her business seemed as if it was a good fit, and that she might have some commonalities with a couple others. And so I just committed. I said, I'm just going to introduce you. And not only is she completely in line, she ended up finding her tribe. She was at Matt Landau retreat attended the executive summit. She was with us in Charleston last week, dressed as Rachel Alday's twin, and at our party. And for me, that, Lynell, is the inspiring part of what we're looking to do and what we're looking to grow and where we're headed. And, it's all about doing this, helping one another, really stepping into the evolution of our business, which is still always going to be the heart of hospitality, owner relations, really professional growth, and just being that professional management resource as we move forward. And just so much is just on the horizon for us that I think it's a very, very exciting time.
Well, as a VRMA member, a long time, obviously over half of the time VRMA has been established, I've been a member. It really did help me grow my business, and it helped me establish relationships in the business. I think that VRMA, the conference, is so important to learning what everybody else is doing in the business and getting to know people who do the same thing you do that can help advise you, help mentor you. And so I encourage everybody to be in Las Vegas. What are the dates? I think it's September,
Close. We're October.
Oh, October, sorry.
Yep, we are October 12th through the 14th.
October 12th
and
through the 14th.
I'll say we have all the pre-conference activities. We have the pickleball tournament. We have a golf tournament this year, both benefiting the Advocacy Fund. We have horseback riding and all kinds of pre-activities for us to really reconnect and get that sense of enjoyment and community. And the packed learning environment is just unbelievable. At this point, we have Chip Connolly as our kickoff keynote, and we are really primed and ready to convene because, if anything an industry does, it has a responsibility to convene and to put together that body of knowledge and help one another grow. And so why not there? Why not Las Vegas? October 12th through 14th. I hope that we get a chance to see everyone there and that we're here to celebrate and move forward.
For people who want to attend VRMA, do you have any financial incentive that you can offer them if they're doing last minute?
Absolutely. We know, for example, Lynell, that 45% of our attendees for the October event register in the last 4 weeks. And so it is a great time. And so we would just say we have a special code that we're going to leave with your listeners and viewers for taking advantage of a last minute deal, if you will, for VRMA 25 in Las Vegas.
Woohoo! So, what is that? Tell us our code, our secret code.
Our secret code. So our secret code is going to be it'll be Inhabit 25. And so we'll have that active for your listeners. And so we'll take advantage of that. And last minute, we still welcome you to the party.
That's exciting. Guys, if you haven't registered for VRMA for the conference in Las Vegas this year, 2025, you can use Inhabit 25 as your promo code. If you have any problems with it, please reach out to Anne. Anne, how would people reach out to you if they want to talk to you?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I try to keep up, though not as often as I should. But I will say also reach out to me at A Gardner, AGARDNER at vrma.org or LinkedIn, or you can also find me on VRMA's website when you take a look at the About Us and Contact Us. So our whole team is actually on the site for you. And we look forward to being of help and of service. And I'd love to hear anybody's experience in working with VRMA and how we can help your business.
Please reach out to Anne, guys. She is such a nice person, and she's very accessible. And she's very much, like she said, a priest. Most of everything goes in and little bit comes out. So she's a great confidant, as I know. Anne, thanks again.
Oh, thanks, Lynell. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.
3 days, game-changing insights, unlimited possibilities. Streamline Summit 2025 SOAR is where the future of vacation rental management takes flight. Secure your spot, sharpen your strategy, and connect with the best in the business. Visit streamlinesummit.com and register today. The industry is soaring. Will you rise with it?